Aha!
What, are we on?
Aha!
Okay.
This is the Jimmy Doan Show. I'm Counselor Curtis.
And I'm Jimmy Doan.
That's him. It's true. He's still alive, ladies and gentlemen. We are the OG Libertarian. That means original, by the way.
Yeah.
Libertarian podcasters. We've been doing this so long. Like before they were podcasts is when we started.
No, seriously. We have, seriously, we did about 90 shows on, which we have on little cassettes now or whatever, on diskettes.
Yeah.
We did about 90 shows in the, I'm just trying to think when it was. It would have been
1800s.
No, it was in the early 90s.
Anyway, we do this twice a week now, 4 o'clock, Wednesdays and Sundays, very consistently, streaming right to this show, to this station. After we get done here, I'm going to post a subject time stamped copy up on YouTube where it's very easy to access and download. So join us there if you'd like as well. Today is the third day of the second month of the
February.
2019 year.
That's right.
Of
Game day.
the Jesus people.
Huh? No, game day, right?
Right. Right. It's football Sunday.
Football Sunday.
Super Sunday.
That's right. When did it start?
What, the game?
Yeah.
It hasn't started yet.
Okay.
It's on a couple hours.
Okay. Well, whatever.
We are keeping track, as you can see.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Okay, that's good. Anyway, we're not gonna.
Is your team going to win this?
Right. Yeah, that'll be good. So it's interesting. Of course, it's gonna be in Atlanta,
Yes.
and we have a couple of notes on that to get started.
Yeah, I thought you're talking about the bridge thing. Did you see
Well,
that?
the bridge is one.
Right.
I mean, they spent $23 million on this pedestrian bridge to get to the game.
Whoops.
And guess what? Security concerns, we don't know, we're closing it. I'm sorry. To the 50,000 people that were going to walk across that bridge, zero.
Well, no, they're letting the entertainment go across.
Oh, are they?
Catering and stuff, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and then they're letting everybody leave via the bridge.
Okay.
So you get 50% usage.
Okay.
But it is kind of interesting. You wonder if the bridge had been built by private interest, would they have done a security check maybe beforehand?
I would think. Yeah. Well, they have. Let me mention a couple
In
of things here.
anticipation of use as a Super Bowl venue?
Well, it's interesting. They wasted a whopping $23 million on a pedestrian bridge, so it's going to be blocked off. Okay. But it turns out there's lots of security.
Yeah.
Federal and local law enforcement are combining efforts and technology assets to secure the biggest sport event of the year. Mm-hmm. Our Atlanta area public safety team has done an outstanding job in developing their plan for this weekend's activity, said the Homeland Security Secretary. Well, right. Here's the quote. Here's the money quote. You can rest assured they have thought of every contingency and have worked extraordinarily hard to make this a safe and secure game day. Everything. I mean,
yes.
Nothing has been left to chance.
That's right.
So
we've covered every contingency.
that's right. So it turns out that
every possible.
the Department of Homeland Security, 600 assets.
Oh my God, a drone!
I mean, seriously, they have, the drone wars. No, clone wars it was. That's right.
I mean, this is the kind of thing where you could get a few hundred yards away.
Oh, totally.
And fly a drone in there with the bomb.
You could get a mile away.
A bunch of marbles on it or something. Well, I mean, you kind of want to have to be line of sight. So you watch it drop in there, and then you hit the cell phone detonation.
It's got a video on it.
Or that, yeah. Or that.
Hello. I mean, it's just totally videoed, and then recording, so you get and streaming live, which is what we do.
Right, streaming live.
And so, anyway, 600 assets, which include special agents, pilots, canine dogs, handlers, advanced cargo and vehicle screening technology, special response teams, magnometer screening. Trainers, air assets, mobile command centers, anti-human trafficking, counterfeit ticket and merchandise, investigative teams, and blah, blah, blah. So you get the idea. Everything.
Spotters, snipers.
I mean, everything. Yeah, exactly. So it's just great. And, of course, the other big news about the game, horrible news, is they fear that there's going to be a shortage of limousines.
Oh my God.
What they've said is some limousine company owners and the Super Bowl host committee fear Atlanta could be short 300 to 400 limousines and other chauffeured vehicles during the Super Bowl weekend.
Well, it's a well-grounded fear.
Well, but I mean, they don't want the city to run out of limousines. So the Department of Public Safety says no, we have plenty. Don't worry about it. Got plenty of limousines. Of course,
activate the school buses.
Right, or something. Right, the school limos. The thing about it is, what I thought was fascinating. Was they're not allowed to bring in, what the people want to do, believe it or not, was to bring in limos from out of town or from
not licensed.
Not licensed. Right, that's the problem. They're not licensed, and so the guy who gives out
what you think just because you can drive in Jacksonville means you can drive in Atlanta?
You have no clue. It's public safety, and says there are plenty of vehicles available. But they can't use any out-of-state cars and drivers, but they can quickly tick off the numbers of injuries and deaths from chauffeured bus and car accidents, and the state law doesn't know. Well,
they have no idea what those rogue drivers are doing up in
isn't that the truth?
Charlottesville or someplace.
That's right. And certainly they've got to. You think about it. It's like everybody and their brother has got the GPS.
Right.
And I would guess that they pretty much know where the stadium is and follow that car. But I think it's interesting that they don't allow, they're thinking there's going to be a shortage. Well, of course, what I was wondering was, I wonder what the limo prices look like.
Well, there's a shortage.
Right.
It must be gouging them.
You would think that, market forces, not gouging.
Good gouging.
Good gouging, that's right. Market forces. I mean, you think about it. You normally rent these things for $100, $200 an hour. Now it's $1,000 or something.
Hey, if you're going to gouge a billionaire,
right?
What's the harm?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
They got big, thick coats.
Well, that's right. That's right. They're not. That's all going to be very nicely done. Mm-hmm. So, speaking of billionaires,
see the way
Bernie Sanders is now proposing, along with the rest of them, they're jumping on this. To what he wants to do. He wants to have an estate tax now. Remember, that's the death tax.
Yeah.
Up to 77% for billionaires, and it goes as it starts at about $1 billion when they start to get this for paltry little small $1 million estates. It's let's see, the states above 1 billion, 77%, and of course he says, well, it's only going to be the 0.2%. Of the wealthiest Americans, so they can handle it.
Yeah.
It basically would set a 45% tax on the value of estates between $3.5 million and $10 million, gradually rising up to 77% for amounts more than $1 billion. The current estate tax kicks in at about $11 million, and that's up. You can have a $10.5 million estate, pay no estate tax.
I object to taxes generally, as you know. But I have some kind of a visceral reaction when the rate passes 50%. I'm not sure what it is, but it seems to me as though when that happens, that whoever it is in favor of the tax, that individual person believes that they're more entitled to spending the money than the individual who makes it or something like that.
That's right. That's exactly right. And it's not like they haven't already paid taxes on it. They've already paid.
Well, right. We're talking about the estate tax.
Yeah, the estate. Yeah, right. The estates have already paid taxes.
Yeah.
And now they want to come in and scoop out a bunch because they know better what to do with it than your offspring or whoever else you're going to leave it to.
Yeah. I mean, when do they get to the point of where they just say, look, or when do we get to the point of where we admit that, look, if those guys can spend the money better, then it's obviously reckless and dangerous to leave money in the hands of the public.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I did a little research on the estate tax. Of course, there was no estate tax until Teddy Roosevelt got in, and it was the same thing that they did for the income tax, and that is it's only the rich, just the rich people. Don't worry about it. Everybody else, Well, I can tell you from personal experience, having been in the inheritance business in my lifetime, I've paid a lot of estate taxes, and
yeah, they'll expand it. They'll expand it. There's no reason not to. If it's good for a billionaire, then it's good for a millionaire, and then it's good for a thousandaire. I mean, why wouldn't it be? I mean, I guess you could say, well, I mean, I don't know. I guess.
Well, the thing about it, what happens is on these estate taxes, as you know, one of the things that happened in England when they had the estate taxes, the death taxes, people had to sell their estates. I mean, basically had to sell them off. So now they're tourist attractions or something.
Right.
Because they couldn't keep them. And when we went over there and toured around a couple of these castles, they had people lining up there for $20 a shot to walk through their castle, but they had a couple of rooms walled off where they lived.
Right.
So this is not Airbnb exactly, but it's the
museum B&B.
Museum B&B. So anyway, they're telling this flat out that the reason for this is to reduce income inequality. So what we're going to do is we're not going to make the poor people rich. We're going to make the rich people poor, and that way it's all leveled out.
Well, and Elizabeth Warren, you saw her. I mean, she has some kind of wealth tax, like they want to do like a legit tax on just wealthy people. Like we're just going to take
2% is what
some cash.
He's saying what you do is not only do you have your income tax,
right,
of course, but then you have, in addition to that, line 32, supplemental wealth tax,
right,
2%,
and then Bernie gets the death tax. And so they're turning it up a bit.
Well, what's interesting, of course, is they still can never have enough money. Obviously, we're running $1 trillion deficit.
Look, this time for sure. This'll cover it. There won't be any more poor.
Right.
Everybody will be educated. It'll raise all the level of society all up. And
well, this is her Elizabeth. I think what she
nobody will leave.
She won't. Yeah, right. I mean, watch the exodus. I mean, you think about it. Even the people in Venezuela who have nothing, except what they got on their back, are leaving with that. That's all of their wealth. I'm getting out of here before somebody takes this.
Right.
So it's
you wonder.
It's $30 million. She says if you have an income or whatever it is, if you're worth more than $30 million, that's when she wants the 2%.
Right.
So you have to write a check for that.
Right.
What is that? I don't even know what that adds up to. 60,000 or something.
Yeah, something like that, I guess.
Write a check. Yeah. So anyway, this they're battling it out totally. Now that we're going to talk about some of the new people that have come in, we knew who they were going to run on the Democratic ticket for president. Mm-hmm. And of course, they are all trying to out-socialize everybody else. You want a 22% death tax? No, 44 by God on this.
We said we want to have our wish list up and see who checks all the boxes.
Right.
It's interesting that the Democrats have this. They have a problem because, of course, it looks as though, by all accounts, or the popular accounts, that the base is quite left of center these days. Quite willing to embrace socialism, quite willing to embrace radical ideas in the left. Now, so they have to survive a primary and then win a general election.
Right.
And so they have to everybody's got to play super far to the left for a little while here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Because it's about their constituencies. You wonder, of course, the primaries are state by state. So you got to wonder what the hook is when you go to the New England, New Hampshire, Iowa. I mean,
Iowa's a year from today.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Is it still the first? It's not. Is it still the first one?
I don't know. I didn't think it would.
They were having a battle to see who was there for what between New Hampshire and.
Yeah, there were several states that were trying to line up to make themselves with.
Yeah, I know California moved theirs up because it sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
Just want to mention one thing about news that was fake news.
Okay.
It was all over the interweb that the Israelis had come up with a cure for cancer.
Oh yeah, you know what? I didn't even click on it because I was like, okay, we'll see.
Yeah, no,
I saw the headline.
No, I saw the headline and I immediately said bunk.
Yeah. And
so it says yesterday a series of this is earlier this week.
Oh yeah, me too.
A miracle cure for cancer will be available in 1 year's time.
Right.
And it's nonsense.
I did that over the weekend.
Yeah.
That's what happened. I was like up late Friday working on him, and then Saturday too, and by Sunday morning.
Yep. Cure.
Cancer. Done.
No.
Not like any particular kind of cancer.
No, not out of the
Cancer.
3,000 different kinds, different kinds of cancer. Cures them all.
Right, exactly.
And no, I mean, it was amazing how many people got.
It's like an aspirin.
Yeah, right. How many people got, bilked by this? I mean, just yourself.
Well, it's starting to get obvious. I saw another one this week, which was really funny, which was there was a really pretty girl, okay, and the headline was so and so girl gets a tattoo of Harry Styles on her face, okay, and so here's this really pretty girl, and here's this hideous tattoo of this guy, like on her face. And you knew right away, it was like, okay, that's clickbait. This is the girl's too pretty for that to have happened, and no.
Well, I saw where,
sure enough, a few days later,
pretty girls. There was this one girl, and I forget what it was, who was standing in the background, holding up something. I forget what it was. It was an advertisement for something. It was like a photobomb. Well, they were using her to advertise stuff, and she said, "Whoa, you can't." So
you're talking about the water girl from
So she's suing everybody in sight for.
Well, and good for her.
Yeah,
she should. Well, another photobomb before we get to suing everybody in sight and back on track.
Yeah.
Another photobomb you might have seen was did you see the Kamala Harris, Stacey Abrams picture?
No.
So Kamala Harris, of course, and Stacey Abrams took a picture in Atlanta together.
Mm-hmm.
In the background, there's a homeless guy passed out on a bench. And everybody saw it. Everybody on Twitter, and they're all like, "Great, good work there in Atlanta so far." And
I didn't see that. That is so funny. I need to go look that up, I guess.
And this goes to two different stories we have now. We could talk about the other one, which is Cory Booker is now in the thing.
Well, let me see if we can go up to that here. The U.S. Postal Service's Foxconn Muslim.
I'll tell you a little bit about it as you look for it.
Okay.
And that is the interesting thing that everybody keeps pointing out is he was the mayor of Newark,
right?
And then he's a senator from this area, and the place is still a shithole. It's like, dude, what happened? If your leadership is so awesome, is this what we're going to bring to the world from Newark? Is this the wellspring of good ideas?
Yeah, what, and that's one of the things I remember that somebody was saying this one time before about.
I should have brought us to Newark. I'm surprised.
Well, no, so sorry. We might be able to do that. Let me just see. That's like way down the list on this. We're going to get to it again. We'll get to it again. I did want to say that the Postal Service, because of the cold, which is now, by the way, just about gone away. But they decided not to deliver to about 100 zip codes.
Well,
which of course belies the most famous saying of all: is it neither storm nor hail nor
it's rain nor sleet nor hail, but polar vortex
will keep us from our pointed rounds. That's right.
Polar vortex.
Yeah.
I mean that.
So anyway, it just says they're gonna. I guess that's all over now, but it was cold. They were having, there were videos all over the place, almost as many as cat videos of people throwing boiling water into the air. So I mean that was a new thing.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the next item I've got.
Okay.
As you know, there was a big deal made, but that Foxconn was going to build a place in. They had a $4 billion subsidy, basically, is what it amounted to build in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And the other day, they said, well, not so much. It's really not making sense for us. Well, needless to say, the Trumpster got on the thing and says, yes, you are. And so they said, well, we reevaluated it, and maybe.
Really?
Yeah. They have Foxconn. They are adjusting their Wisconsin side.
Get your asses back down to the freaking construction site.
That's right. No, I mean, I just, because it was so funny when you thought at the beginning, first of all, it's a Chinese company, and they hire people for, a dime an hour, whatever they do, whatever it is, And so they're going to go to Wisconsin,
right?
Which,
they got to pay real wages.
Real wages. I mean, $13, $15 an hour minimum start. and everything, and they're going to make money at that. I mean, so anyway, the point is that apparently they've been, brought up. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting to see because the Chinese play by mafia rules.
Yeah.
And they'll have no problem setting up an entire factory to lose money just for PR.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's just okay.
Right. Well, that was. Well, that's what they were talking. I was watching this show about who owns the Arctic. As you know, the Arctic is a sea.
Yeah.
And of course, Norway and Russia and Canada have their 200-mile boundary.
Right.
That they claim, and now of course the Russians sent a little robot to the North Pole and put a flag at the bottom of the thing. So that's one of the things that because they figure there's all this wealth and everything.
Oil.
Well, at least at the very minimum, so they're getting ready to do that. So they're starting to make the play for the Arctic area. So it'll be interesting to see how because they overlap.
Right. And it's warming up, so people
they can get boats through there. That's right, ships through there. So anyway, okay. Next item. I thought this was kind of interesting. The Muslims demand that Nike pull Air Max 270s off the shelves over their offensive logo.
I've got a slideshow for our people here.
Is that the offensive logo?
Well, that's an earlier one, actually. Now, unfortunately, I can't designate when the slideshow starts, but this. So what these are? That's an image of Allah. Okay, that's what that says right there. And that's another one, highly stylized, and then with the person's signature there as well. And this is one kind of broken down, in the color by numbers format, obviously. So, you can see this little image here. And then I've got coming up, there it is. That's the one from Nike. Now, when you look at that, you're like, well, what does that actually say? If you stop it and you flip it upside down, exactly. Right. You can see
inside. It's in a mirror and
well, exactly. And that that's kind of the problem with the accusation here is that once you're taking somebody's image, you're flipping it upside down and you're also cutting a portion of it out. They're zeroing in on the upside down M and the upside down A without the crossbar, and it's. So what it says Air Max upside down.
Okay.
But they of course read this as God. So I mean, to me, there's two ways to look at it. And one way is what Nike said, which is, look, no.
Yeah.
It says Air Max, okay?
Yeah.
So get over it. But there is an argument that if it looks enough like the thing, if the public perception is whatever it is, then that's what it is. But to me, this looks like it's reaching on this one.
Reaching?
Apparently, well, here's the thing. Apparently, the reason I put up that T-shirt one is because Nike got in trouble for that one in 1997.
Right, yeah, I saw that. They came in for a flame-shaped logo that also resembled the word for Allah.
Right.
And that they pulled 38,000 pairs of sneakers worldwide and donated $50,000 to an Islamic elementary school in the United States.
Right.
So talk about extortion. Of course, that happens all the time. I mean, seriously, you think about the number of times that Al Sharpton and the crowd of, they wanted to boycott a Burger King one time, and they had to come up with all kinds of money in order to buy them off. And it's just interesting.
Well, if I were Nike and I felt like it was extortion anyway, I'd tell them all to go jump in a lake.
Well, petitioner Saka Noreen says the logo will surely be trampled, kicked, and come soiled with mud and even filth.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because it's on the bottom of a shoe. Excuse me.
Right.
Yeah. Guess what? So anyway, it's an.
Well, how about the word Allah will be printed all over the earth?
Right. There you have it. Good news.
Yeah.
So that's right. So anyway, she's demanding that they recall the blasphemous and offensive shoe in all products and so forth. Nike, she's been in hot water before. It reminds me also demanding, right? Well, it also reminds me of the hoorah over the Starbucks logo years ago.
Starbucks?
Yeah, they said it was a devil. The Starbucks logo was a Satan or something.
Oh, with the woman on it.
Yeah, the whole deal. They said this was.
Yeah, and I remember the Batman. Remember the Batman one?
No.
The dentistry people were upset because if you look at it as a negative image, it looks like a poorly toothed mouth.
Oh yeah. Oh right. Yes, it does.
And so the dental people were all like, "Hey."
Use it as your logo there, pal.
Yeah.
So anyway, speaking of recalls, Tyson Foods recalls 18 tons of chicken nuggets after reports of rubber pieces found in the food. I think it's interesting to me. They found this soft rubber inside a popular food, but instantaneously they withdrew. They recalled. 18 tons.
So suspicious that chicken tastes like rubber.
Yes. Yeah. Right, and it's funny you should say that because they call the when you go on the tours, they rubber chicken circuit. That's what they call it. They call it we always get you go to these fancy things, and it's always chicken that tastes like rubber.
They're cold busted.
Busted. That's so funny. So to date, of course,
there's been a little rubbery in
Yeah, that's right. There's been no injuries yet. But this is not the first one. Less than 2 weeks ago, Purdue Folds recalled 68,000 pounds of frozen chicken nuggets after consumers reported finding chunks of wood in the product. Well, which is kind of interesting in a way because what they're worried about is you're supposed to go look at the use-by date, and that's supposed to tell you something. But what they're worried about is all the people that take them and put them in the freezer. And then, 2 years from now, they open it up and they find wood. Well, of course, you leave chicken in the freezer like that long, it's going to taste like wood anyway. So
deserve wood.
So we're moving on.
Okay.
And this is really cool. I like this idea. An East Bay biochemist sells gene editing kit for the masses.
Yeah, this was funny.
This was great. I love this. This guy, they unlocked the genome 15 years ago. Okay. Or 16, whatever. There was immediate concern how the knowledge might be abused in the wrong hands. We haven't seen a horror film yet about that, or James Bond or anything, but anyway, we probably will. Now, an East Bay entrepreneur wants to put that power in everyone's hands. Dr. Josiah Zahner, who has a PhD in biochemistry and has worked for NASA, engineering organisms to help astronauts survive on Mars. But that wasn't enough for him. He wants others to do it as well. Out of his West Oakland apartment, he operates a company called the Odin. Interesting, isn't that the king of the Norse or something? Norse gods. That sells gene editing kits. They come with all that's necessary to create your own genetically modified organism. What could go wrong? So the kit teaches novice scientists how to inject tree frogs with a type of human growth enzyme that causes frogs to double in size in about a month. But at St. Mary's College, this big long name India woman, ethical concerns about untrained persons using a live animal for experimentation. And this is
Save the frogs.
Yes, well, whatever. You think about it. When you think about it, the number of frogs, the number of what are the animals that usually used in biology in high school? It's a lot of frogs.
Frogs and worms.
No, not worms. There's a mammal that they carve up a lot of, a bunch of them. I forget what it is. When they're looking at the guts of them and so forth. But anyway, so now you can do your own gene editing, and this is to me, it's really cool. He said the kit comes complete with everything, and this is going to be so great because Christmas time for little Timmy.
Right.
He's a bright kid.
Frog.
He's a bright kid. He's 12.
Right.
What are you getting for Christmas? You get him a gene editing kit. This is so cool. Him and his buddies could create mutants.
Right.
I'm laughing at this. It's so great because, I think about it.
How come the cat's 25 pounds?
What our cat grew a third leg, fourth or fifth leg, or whatever. No, it's just... I just think that it's fascinating what I'm surprised in a way that he hadn't been stopped by somebody.
Yeah, well, I thought it was funny that what the article said that at one point he injected himself.
Right, yeah, Dr. Zahner frequently uses himself as a guinea pig. He once injected himself with a growth accelerator while live streaming a talk at a bioconference. And he says that's the kind of thing that occurs when people use science without accountability.
That's what the other doctor said.
Right.
About him.
Yeah.
And I'm
but I
thinking,
mean, he was being accountable.
that's what I said.
Are you
It
kidding?
doesn't get
You
more
can't-
accountable
you
than that.
that is the ultimate in accountability.
I'm testing it on my dang self.
That's right. So I mean, I just think
I trust that guy.
Yeah, right. No, I'm just the guy's got a PhD. You know, I mean, he knows.
So
He should know what he's doing.
yeah, Dr. Nick. Yeah.
It's alive. So I just love it. So anyway, moving along to other organisms, and this is really amazing to me. This is the conflict. I'm beginning to think that instead of 50 states, we should have maybe 50 countries.
Oh, right.
Because this is what's
Well,
happening.
that's what we do have. I mean, that's...
Well, you say that. Well, yeah, except that the feds overrule a lot of
Right,
stuff. But here we are. Iowa bans most abortions as the governor signs the heartbeat bill.
Right.
So in Iowa now, one of the little minor problems is it's called the heartbeat legislation because it bans abortions once a fetal heartbeat is detected, which is really early. You don't even know you're pregnant yet. I mean,
Yeah, it's like 6-8 weeks.
it's 6 or 8 weeks. I mean, you might be running a little late on your period, but
Right.
but basically, there's you can't other than not bleeding. The fact is, you can't tell, for 3 months at least. I mean, you can. I mean, you can. I guess you can. But
Morning
anyway, had been
sickness,
detected, but 6 weeks of pregnancy. So anyway, there's some exceptions, but no Democrats in Iowa voted for the bill. So passed by the Republican. Majority, and so every woman deserves a fundamental right to make decisions about her own body with her doctor and so forth. Some Democratic committee member said Iowa has permitted most abortions up to 20 weeks. The new law says the 6-week deadline will prohibit abortions before women realize they're even pregnant. And I suppose, but I'm sure there's a way around it. They have to hear
Well, they go to New
medical
York.
emergency, rape, incest, whatever.
They can go to New York.
Right. They can go to New York, which Cuomo signs historic abortion law by turning the World Trade Center. He turned it pink. This is for the pink rule. The newly emboldened state legislature passed the Reproductive Health Act late on Tuesday afternoon, and Governor Cuomo immediately signed it. Now, what was interesting was you saw the picture. The picture of him signing it.
Oh, no.
It was great. There was like 4 women. And they're just, this is the funniest thing. They're writing back of him watching sign this bill.
Right.
And as far as they're concerned, this is a victory for women's rights.
Right.
Total victory. And basically, you saw you can go and look at the testimony on these people because this also happened in Virginia, I think. The New York, let me just think. I think they also did one in... Yes, in Virginia. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Virginia. Okay, we're going to talk about him in a minute too. But basically, this allows an abortion right up to delivery time. And so they showed what happens, and one doctor described it in the goriest detail you can imagine, on how you extract this. This is 20 minutes.
Child.
20 minutes shy of being
Right.
a viable form, and they break it all up and everything, and it's just. And,
All right, where are you getting at?
no, I'm just saying. To me, the idea that we've tried not to talk about abortion, and this is one of the reasons.
That's it. Yeah, it sucks.
It's gory.
Well, look, what's good here, all we have to say is this. Iowa goes one way, New York goes the
Right.
other. Now we get to see. We get 2 different experiments in legality of it. We'll see if horrors arise in one place or another.
Well, you do know that a couple things. One is since this is obviously going to be appealed, and you're going to have 2 different court decisions, on the appeals courts
Theoretically.
and so the Supreme Court's going to take it up again.
Maybe. I mean, you could have one get to the circuit level before the other one gets to the district level, such that the circuit court controls the other jurisdiction or something like that.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily going to be a conflict. But this is an issue that probably the Supreme Court will take up. As we talked about in the past, this is one of the Roe v. Wade decision is one of the wonkiest, least legal, foundational decisions out there. It's written like a paper of some. It's not like a legal opinion or something. It's really weird. I love Sandra Day, but it was a wonky one. But the short of it is, it belongs in the state level from that decision,
Right.
And after a certain point, and So the states are obviously taking it up. So
Right,
we'll
they
get
are.
some.
Well, what's interesting is the New York. One of the reasons that New York passed it. This is one of the most horrible things that every time. Now, this turns out this law is not named after this woman, but it all came to a head. It was publicized because the need for late-term abortion was publicized by a Brooklynite who told her story of having to travel to Colorado to end a non-viable pregnancy. And she later went public with her name, became an outspoken advocate for the new law, and it also moves the abortion statutes out of the penal code, with the right to abortion in the state's health laws, and in case the state should be a prohibition. So it's out of the penal code. And then of course Gloria Steinem had to weigh in on this, and this is the greatest thing. So whatever.
Oh yeah, I heard it. She was talking about the patriarchy.
Yes, here she says, this power has been taken away by patriarchy and racism, sometimes disguised as religion, yet it is our most basic democratic right.
Right, and you know that the guys prevented the women from voting on that issue.
Huh?
No.
What? Huh? Yeah, right. Jeez. Okay, but anyway.
They're the patriarchy. I mean, obviously.
Right, yes.
Exactly. It wasn't women voting on it.
No. The patriarchy, that's right. So, anyway, moving on. Virginia. Mm-hmm. Also.
Oh, well, Virginia. We have to talk about Virginia.
We have to talk about two things about Virginia. This Virginia Governor Ralph Northam refused to recant his comments in support of legislation that would have allowed women in his state, to request an abortion, even though they are about to give birth. Mm. So they've kind of gone along with New York in this, and that is right up until, okay, delivery's in 10 minutes, let's have an abortion.
Right.
Who knows what.
Well, he's done.
And I don't have any regrets, he said. Mm-hmm. In other news,
yes,
Virginia Governor Ralph Northam does not believe he was in a racist picture of his 1984 medical yearbook, and he has no plans to resign, according to the Associated Press. Citing a Democrat who spoke. Northam apologized on Friday, saying, I accept my responsibility for past actions, and I'm ready to do the hard work to regain your trust. So anyway, the picture, in case you didn't see it, was one fellow in his medical class in blackface and everything, and the other one in a Ku Klux Klan robe.
Right, and this is on his page.
On his page
in the
yearbook.
Yearbook, right.
Right, and so anyway, he apologized. Basically, he admitted it. Now he's retracted. He said, no, that wasn't me anyway. No.
Right.
And so, no, prove it. And so, of course.
What a crappy apology and statement. I mean, you never say, I believe that wasn't me. I mean, nobody talks like that. That's how you know it was just a lie.
Right.
I don't recollect having any experience to that effect.
See the picture on your page?
Well, how about just, it's not me. It's not me. Just say it's not. That's not me.
Yeah.
I mean, but you that's how you can tell that the lie is a dance.
Right.
You get this weird language, and of course, what he should have said, of course, was, yes, I remember that clearly. We were attending a costume party. The theme was offensive costumes, and that's me dressed as Michael Jackson. And the guy in the Ku Klux Klan outfit is my black Muslim trans boyfriend. What about it?
Yeah. And, well, what Scott Adams said, the best thing he could probably do, he says he's toast.
Right.
He's toast. But he did say one way to diffuse it, because apparently he can do the moonwalk.
Well, that somebody asked him to. Right. Yeah, I saw that too.
And so he gets out there and does the moonwalk, and while playing a Michael Jackson song or something.
Yeah.
So
it would transfer everything. But hey, I'm with him from the standpoint. If I were a black guy in his jurisdiction, I'd probably be pretty pissed. But as Scott Adams pointed out, this you might go by the 35-year rule in this one, which is, look, this is 35 years ago.
Right.
But then again, the guy was 25 at the time in medical school. Mm-hmm. He was a fully formed adult and such. And what the hell you do it? That's the thing. He's got to provide an explanation, and this is a crappy explanation. But here's the thing that I would say: if I were him, I would tell everybody go jump in a lake.
Yeah.
I would be like, look, if you think you got the votes to impeach me, go ahead. If that's what you're going to impeach me for, go ahead. Something I did 35 years ago, I would say, look to my voting record over the last 35 years. If you see racism endemic in that, okay, well, but for a yearbook photo that you can't even definitively say is me, and now I very equivocally say it's not.
Yeah. I'm pretty much sure
I'm
that's
pretty
not
much
me.
sure that might not be me.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, it is interesting that that he. It'll be interesting. He's not going to resign. He's going to fight it out, I guess.
That's what I would do if I were him. I would do that too, because it's getting too crazy. This call out culture and retribution for things that were 35 years old. Look, think about this. The stupid yearbook people didn't have any problem with it.
No.
The medical school didn't have any problem with it in 1984.
1982 or whatever. It was.
The
84.
The staff didn't have any problem with that.
They're all racist. That's
apparently,
why.
or something.
We're talking about Virginia, for God's sakes.
Right. In 1984 in Virginia. Right.
They're one of the first ones to secede.
And there you go. So I don't know.
After South Carolina.
Yeah, I would. But like I said, he misses opportunity to say, like I said, to have a good.
Well, he was kind of ambushed in a way. That's what happens when you wonder. When I think about stuff that could be brought up from my yearbook, holy smoke! And I still got.
Well, yeah, we've posted your Jimmy Doan picture.
No, that's right.
Has a bomb right in.
He has a bomb. That's right.
A bomb at the school.
At the school, lighting this. The
in front of like teachers.
No, it's in front of the news. The Putzel was editor of the newspaper or something, and it's in front of his place.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, okay. Next, moving on. Let's see how we're doing here. Moving along. New state regulations force a California charity for the homeless to close shop.
Yeah, I saw this.
Over the past 4 years, Deliverance San Diego has been delivering hot meals to the city's homeless population every Friday, averaging about 200 donated meals on any given evening. Now, after new guidelines passed by the state legislature, the nonprofit is ceasing all operations. Now, this is what's interesting. Through their existing model, hot meals were prepared in volunteer homes and distributed on the streets. Volunteers from various churches gathered together and went out to feed the homeless and so forth. New requirements, however, were set forth by the San Diego Department of Environmental Health. Mm-hmm. Deliverance would need to meet a variety of other requirements for the kitchen. So you got to be able to wash your hands. It's all got to be certified. It's got to be
a licensed.
Has to be licensed, right?
The proper thing. Come on, man!
State-approved kitchens and implement hand-washing stations.
Because they can't trust people to prepare non-poisonous food in their own homes.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Because they probably poison themselves on a daily basis.
It's just, I guess what they're worried about is, so here's the deal.
They're worried about getting sued. They're covering their butts is what they're doing.
Who?
The city. The city, because they're...
Why would they get sued?
Because somebody's going to say, taking care of the homeless is the city's problem because they sanction this in some way, because they let these people go out into the park and give away the food or something like that, and they create some attractive nuisance. And somebody got sick, a homeless guy died.
Yeah, like that never happens.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So the thing is, I'm looking at it this way. The idea is for the homeless people now, they're going to starve to death.
In between his drug usage, they ate some bad food.
Right. That's right. And they're homeless, right. But I'm just saying that maybe...
And that's what killed him.
Right.
It wasn't the heroin or the cocaine. It was the
food, right.
Seafood.
Well, of course, what could happen, I suppose, is what some people might do is to go ahead and put rat poison in the food, and that way you get rid of the homeless population.
Right.
That's instead of having
clearly,
to starve.
This is their track record.
Right, the track
killing people off.
Yeah. No. If you notice that the homeless population is burgeoning, I mean it's
out there.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Well, that's the only thing I can think of is that they're trying to prevent the attractive nuisance, trying to prevent more homeless people from coming out there. But come on, man, that's what they're going to come out of here. But whatever. It's incredible, the concept of this licensing, this kitchen licensing kills me.
Well, yeah, it is, because I mean it's interesting because I've had some people, for instance, that used to do cakes in their own house, ordered up special cakes,
right,
and deliver them, and it was one at a time,
right,
and that kind of stuff.
Hell no.
Well, again, in I forget where it was, but there was some 90-year-old guy down in Orlando, I think, or maybe in Fort Lauderdale, that was giving out food on some park or whatever.
Yeah.
They arrested him 2 or 3 times, but they finally said, now you can do it, I guess, or something else. Yeah, and then in Orlando, the same thing. You know, they have to. So, but again, speaking of regulations, moving along, an Oklahoma senator seeks to regulate Qigong,
It's
a
Qigong.
form of Chinese meditation with a new. What is Qigong?
Qigong, yeah.
Qigong. Okay,
Yeah.
Qigong, a form of Chinese meditation with a new bill. Senate Bill 190. I thought this was fake at first. Seriously, I said this is a joke. And so I went on the Oklahoma website.
Right.
I mean, I read the bill. It's
Right.
like 40 pages or something of everything. It's
Can
just.
you imagine how
No.
much time they have on their hands?
I mean, so anyway,
Who brought this up?
it's the Oklahoma Qigong practice.
Qigong.
Excuse me, practice that authored by Senator Dave Rader, whatever, would create a licensing and regulatory structure around the classical Chinese practice.
So do you know what Qigong is? I mean, did you
It's
watch
just
it?
that. It's just that.
Yeah, exactly. It's
It's
like Tai Chi, basically.
Right. Yeah.
It's stretching.
It's
yoga.
stretching.
It's breathing therapy.
That's right.
And
It is. It's almost. It's nowhere near as harmful as yoga. I mean, yoga. Well, you could tear things up.
Right. No.
I've done some
It's
yoga.
stuff like shaking a little bit,
Yeah.
and reaching to the left, like
Yeah,
you said.
yeah. And so anyway, the bill would create the Oklahoma Board of Qigong.
Uh-huh.
And the board would be empowered to determine the standards associated with the Qigong practice in the state. The board would charge up to $300 for a licensing fee and investigate possible violations of the measure. I mean, what is a violation?
Well, you do this too. You do this wrong, and you hurt yourself or something. I don't know. But it's crazy. I don't understand how the impetus for this happened. Like who called the senator's office and said, "There's a rogue Qigong place here. I don't think they're stretching right. And listen, they're absorbing too much chi from the ground.
Everybody else.
They're
Right.
distorting the chi environment around here.
Right.
And I saw one guy had some blue chi, and the other girl had green chi, and
It was unharmonious.
That's right.
So anyway, the applicants for Qigong license.
Qigong.
I'm sorry, Qigong. Qigong.
it starts with a Q. I know. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, Qigong would need to present proof that they have paid the required fees, graduated from a recognized and accredited Qigong program, whatever.
Look, it's chi, like the Qigong that you gather from the.
Right,
They say
Qigong, accredited program, completed other examination, education, or apprenticeship processes deemed important by the board.
right.
And so I have here a copy, and we can maybe put this up. But I've got a copy of the bill. I mean, the website, the page of the bill here. It's legiscan.com/OK-text/text, whatever. So anyway, it's Senate Bill 190 in Oklahoma, and but I'm just you sit there and you start to think about, can it get any stupider than
Yes. And yes, it can.
Yes, it can.
I'm going to have to jump in here.
Okay,
with one of my
good,
stories this
yes.
week, because it actually can get stupider. You're not going to believe this.
Okay.
Tucker Carlson this week came out and said that smartphones have been shown by science to make children stupider and more unhappy. Okay, in other words, they damage children. And he's calling for a ban.
This isn't a joke, right?
No, this is real.
No,
I watched it. I watched the video of him explaining how cell phones were harmful, and it's a no-brainer to take the cell phones from kids. And he wants a legal ban because he says, I'm not making this up. I swear to God. He says it's too difficult for a parent to take a phone from a 7th grader. He said, a parent can't take a phone from a 7th grader, so we need a ban. Like, a parent can't take a phone from a 7th grader, so we need to get the cops involved.
Right. Well, the question. So what constitutes a child?
He didn't say, but I'm guessing minors. I mean, I don't know. Hey, look,
You're 16 years old and you can't have your smartphone?
if it damages them,
Well, yeah.
it damages kids.
It'll be like
Tucker Carlson, the free marketeer, is calling for a ban on smartphones because it thinks that it makes kids dumber and more unhappy. Now, here's the thing. that certainly explains the demand, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know most of the kids that get smartphones, after they use them for a little while, they're like, get this thing away from me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you bet.
And I don't want the next one.
Yeah. No.
Like,
Well, of
I'm
course,
unhappy.
So now, I guess, what about the iPads, I wonder? Different kind of pads? How about their computer?
I know.
The one in their bedroom.
Look, man, the guy's off. He's off the charts here. You asked him if it could get crazier. I answered it could get crazier, and it can.
Of all people. I mean,
I told you he was a super lefty. I told you he is not who he appears to be. And he's a total elitist at some level. He believes top-down control is the way to go.
Well, he certainly believes it in this one. But of course, the thing is, you wonder what that statute might look like.
It's just insanity. Well, it would look like the cigarette statute, except it would have smartphones in there.
Uh-huh.
But can you imagine the enforcement of that? I mean, what? I mean, can you imagine somebody walking around slapping smartphones out of kids' hands or something? Yeah. Or this is like the plastic straw thing that you have a story about that.
Yes, I do.
And it's the same kind of thing. It's like, why? What? They're imagining the enforcement in entirely the wrong place.
Yeah.
This is clearly a parenting issue.
Right.
Clearly. If you don't think your kid should have a smartphone, you take the smartphone. If you have a problem with that, then you have a problem.
Well, kids are always not blackmailing, but I'm going to cry or I'm going to get upset.
Exactly.
They do it because you look at the kids when you go down the cereal aisle. The kid's in the basket, and I want this one.
How about
and you say no,
dessert?
It's not good for you.
How about dessert every day of the week?
Yeah.
I'd like some more cake.
Yeah.
No, you've had enough.
Yeah.
I mean come on, man.
I hate you.
Yeah, exactly. And, well, okay, now and we got to take it one step further. Actually, okay. I hate to do that. I hate to go here, but
okay.
Now, blackmailing parents at some level has become legalized.
What?
Because there are jurisdictions now. I think it's Oregon, as they like to be called. The Oregonians.
Sounds like another planet.
And I'm telling you, that's the way they like it. I'm pretty sure it's
the inhabitants of Oregon.
They've passed a statute whereby when a child designates their gender and claims a gender identity pronoun
mm-hmm.
that they want to be referred
mm-hmm.
to by. If a parent does not comply with the child's chosen reference pronoun,
mm-hmm.
the parent can be reported to Child Protective Services for a lack of affirmation of gender identity, which, according to studies, increases a risk of suicide in the child. And the child can be removed from the parent now for a lack of confirmation of identity for failure to use the child's chosen pronoun.
So a 5-year-old child decides to...
I would like to be called her or him, they or them, or whatever it is, Gigi, whatever. If you don't do it and you're in the wrong jurisdiction in the United States, right now there are laws on the books that enable Child Protective Services to remove your child, even if your child is well cared for.
Yeah,
in other regards.
Yeah.
Because this particular issue is apparently so sensitive that it increases the risk of suicide to an extent that the parent will be deemed to be harmful to the children. So watch out.
I'll tell you, when you see children's suicides, though, when they get to middle school or high school, it's usually because they've been bullied in the school.
Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of that, and Japan has an incredibly high rate of suicide. It's like 10 times ours.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They have incredible pressures on the kids to do well at early ages, and their society kind of feels as though if you're not doing well by 10 or 12 or something, you're going to be relegated to a lesser life. And the kids...
Of course, they all have to... don't they have to pass that test?
Yeah, they have those types of threshold events, which are more dramatic than they are over here.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, the kids off themselves much more. But there's been a huge uptick, especially in the UK, of these gender identity kids. The increased 500% over the last few years. So we'll see. But like I said, watch out.
Also, this is Black History Month, but it also, I didn't know this, it's Islam Appreciation Month also. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. They have here at the University of Florida. They had
Hijab Day.
Yeah, Hijab Day. Yeah, they did, and they're reclaiming their identity.
Right.
The group's goal this year is to reclaim their identity, specifically their faith-based identity. And this one girl says, so I wear the hijab because I do believe it is mandatory in my faith, but I also wear it because I found my voice when I wore it. Says, what's her name? Students claim they have been bullied and discriminated against for wearing the hijab.
Well, wait a minute. Students claim they've been bullied. UF students.
Right.
Were bullied.
Yeah. For wearing their hijab. Yeah.
No.
Well,
it doesn't happen. Sorry. High school students, they get bullied. Middle school students get bullied. Mm-hmm. Elementary school students get bullied. College students,
no.
You call the cops. You get. I mean, there's no bullying in college.
No.
And discriminated against, like just blatant, just that's it. Discriminate. Nothing specific. Just discriminate. Yeah. I mean, what? Look, I can tell you this. At this university, you can wear anything you want to.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
I mean, seriously, for 30, 40 years, if you want to show up in your PJs to class, you could wear a costume every day of the week and nobody would say anything.
No, that's right. I mean, because when I went there, of course, it was not unusual to wear a suit and tie.
Right. Well, like you said, girls couldn't wear.
Oh no, girls! Oh no, they couldn't wear pants
right.
at all. Had to be in fact, there was a big fight when the what was the skirt things that were actually pants came out. I forget what they call those things. Well,
pantsuits or something.
No, it wasn't anyway. Okay, moving along very quickly here. On patrol with Washington's plastic straw cop.
Yes.
Now this was interesting. Warning letters in hand. Zach, what's his name, patrolled the food court at Union Station looking for offenders, and finally he saw somebody peeling a paper off of a straw and bending it. Ha! Plastic! So he rushes over there, issues the thing, and he says, he said, it comes a nationwide movement to ban plastic straws, and it's up to this guy, an inspector for the D.C. Department of Energy and Environment, to enforce the new law. The straw cop left a rattled cashier at Lotus Express with a warning that if he still was using plastic straws by July, when the grace period expires, it could be fined up to $800.
The cashier's like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, the cashier. So anyway, but it's interesting. This is 9 years after the district instituted a nickel bag tax, and 3 years after it banned plastic foam containers, it has now turned on plastic straws. The effort has been galvanized by a viral video of a sea turtle with a straw stuck in its nostril. That one, I've always said this: if you have a law that's named after a person or because of something like this, you got to think, I'm sorry, this is
And I swear to God, I think somebody jammed that straw into that turtle's face just so they could take that picture and do that.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised. I mean, really, because you got to ask yourself. It's one thing when the turtle's swimming around, and there's this straw. I mean, how does that happen? Because I can understand maybe he chomped on it or something.
Right.
But how would that happen?
It gets in his nose and then sticks there and then stays there. Like he can't get that thing out of there. I just don't. I remember when I was a kid and I saw bendy straws. I thought they were one of the greatest things, and then and always wanted to have them around. What I don't understand about this is this. This is District of Columbia? This is D.C.? Mm-hmm. Isn't all the trash collected by some private business? Like some waste management service?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't it almost have to be that way? I mean, what is happening with the straws? They must be going into the trash. Isn't there a sorting mechanism or some type of a thing? Doesn't it all go to a central location and get... What I'm getting at is the people aren't putting the straws into the turtles' faces. There's a company that must be distributing the waste in some way. If the straws are getting out from that jurisdiction, why would you
right.
enforce it at the at the personal straw level, why not enforce it at the corporate dumping level? Whoever's picking up the straws from around DC and then taking them to the turtle camp to dump them off, that's the person you want to go after.
Yeah. Well, they're always panicky. So somehow they find their way into the ocean where the turtles are. And of course, I'm thinking, we have, I don't care who you are, we have places here.
Landfill.
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at.
How is that going migrating from the landfill to the ocean?
Right.
I mean,
something's wrong there, and to go after the cashier at the Lotus Express. I mean, come on, man, come on, what a highwayman type of move,
$800.
Get the cashier for $50 too for passing out the.
Okay, my last item has to do with the president people that are announcing. Cory Booker has announced, and he says he's focused on the idea that the people in the country share a common pain. In case there's been
common purpose.
Common pain. Well, that's both. Right. Yeah. He's going to bring everybody together.
Right.
Together, we will channel our common pain back to our common purpose. Together, America will rise. And so this is, blah, 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 blah. You just
collective pain.
Collective pain and collective, everything.
Well, what I follow on Twitter several of the presidential candidates like Tulsi. Yeah, sure. Okay. Tulsi and Elizabeth Warren and those people, right? So, but whenever I see their posts, you could just scroll right past them because it's just all platitudes right now.
Yeah.
Everything they're posting right now is, love is the strongest thing next to the flag of America, and the shining sea of redemption and justice will live. Come on, man. I mean, what?
Well, we also, speaking of that, Congressman Gabbard has officially declared her candidacy. She's an Iraq war veteran who at times has had a spiky relationship with the Democrat Party.
You know what would be fun to do? What you do is if you're running for president right now, you get a res ipsum lorem composer that just uses patriotic words to compose your speeches, right?
Right. Yeah, that's right, yeah. So anyway, it's interesting. We'll add another liberal voice to the burgeoning field of candidates seeking the 2020 presidential thing. But it's interesting. A couple of people have complained.
Flag will carry us forward.
Yeah, that's right. And upward and backward and downward. Okay. The fact is that they all have the platitudes. Of course, are just mind-boggling. You sit there and who doesn't believe that?
Mind-numbing. Right. There's nothing distinctive.
I'm for America.
Right.
Good.
There you go. Home run.
Yeah, that's right.
See?
Yeah.
Well,
they're all going to come out. I did see where somebody said that Cory Booker shouldn't get in for, I forget what the reason was, but we want all women in this time.
Right. That was stupid Kellyanne Conway.
Oh, is that it? Well, yeah.
Yeah, she came out and said, "Well, Cory's being sexist because he's running against women."
Right.
Like, nice try.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss to throw some shade at somebody. She can't even call him a sexist, right? It was like, geez. All right, I got a couple of things real quick. Well, we did this one. Let's see. We did that one. We did that one. We did that one. Oh, one thing just real quick. I got two real quick things. Trump this week contradicted his security chiefs. Did you saw that was a story?
Yeah.
For like a couple of days.
Yeah.
People were calling out Trump saying he was contradicting his security chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
My thought is, his intelligence officers. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They work for him.
Right.
Okay. He's the chief intelligence officer, by definition. So, if the chief intelligence officers are contradicting the chief intelligence officer, between the two of them, who's supposed to get on whose page?
Right. Well, that's what years and years ago it was a joke with Abraham Lincoln when he was sitting in a cabinet meeting.
Oh, right.
And he says, "Okay, there's 8 nays and 1 aye. The ayes have it."
Exactly. People need to get over this thing. When these people contradict the president, they're the ones that are wrong by definition.
Yeah.
It's just by definition.
What they said was, you know, if you can't believe you're intelligent, if you think you're so smart, these guys are in the field 24/7. You know, they know everything,
Right,
and they come up with just exactly the perfect right answers. And there's WMDs in Iran.
Right, exactly. And how about this? Well, if you trust those guys, well, shouldn't you trust the guys they got the information from? Like they're juniors who are actually out in the field. Like those generals aren't actually in the field.
No.
Yeah, you got a captain or something out in the field,
Yeah.
right? And if you trust the captain, then shouldn't you trust the private that's under the captain that's actually behind the dumpster out in the field versus the captain who's out in the field but he's in a tent out in the, it's like, now, look, somebody has to take the responsibility. It's the top guy, and that's Trump. So everybody else get on board. Sorry. And then finally, one final light note here, and I will crank up the light note music for this one. Did you notice that when we spoke earlier of suing everybody in sight, that Nick Sandmann's lawyer has posted his published list of suees, man, and it's everybody. He is doing it just the way I would do it. I mean, it's HBO, Bill Maher, CNN. It doesn't matter. If you said something, you're on the list.
Well,
50 different people or something.
Right. This is now, just to refresh your memory, this is because of the smirk.
Right.
Whatever it was, and of course the people that came out and said, literally threatened him.
Right.
And literally threatened him with bodily harm. There was one.
They did it 10 different ways. There's defamation, libel, slander. I mean, there's all kinds of cases.
But all the talking heads, the news reporter people, that jumped in on this, and they're
on the list. Chuck Todd is on the list.
Right.
I mean, it's great. I just love the fact that he's like, okay, you stepped in it now, buddy. So
I think that we're gonna have to follow this because I really want to see how he's going to handle the subpoenas or whatever he's going to do. Is he going to depose them all?
And what'll happen is he probably sent cease and desist letters, and a bunch of them will have their publicists and lawyers send out letters which say, we're very sorry, we didn't mean anything, Nick Sandmann is awesome. If you need us to write a letter of recommendation for him, we'll be happy to do that. Please don't sue the crap out of us.
Yeah.
But some people will double down. You'll have Alyssa Milano or somebody will.
Right, yes. Now, I looked her up. I didn't realize that she's actually pretty famous.
Oh, yeah.
But, boy, I'll tell you, it's she's on somebody just recently. That's why I went and looked her up, her bio and everything.
Yeah, well, she was a child star.
Yeah, totally.
And then she had another hit show after that.
No, she's had a bunch of them.
Two. Yeah, well, she's been in everything.
Everything. I mean, everything.
Two of them, she was a star of two hit shows. So everybody knows her.
But apparently somebody, I forget who it was, that called her out and said, this is the worst person on the planet.
Well, people do that to her quite a bit because she's quite involved.
She's an activist.
Right.
Total. I mean, really. Right. And and apparently she has come out with some really outrageous stuff.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if she gets sued. Anyway, this is Cold Funk by Kevin MacLeod. Earlier you heard Whiskey on the Mississippi. You may hear, what's the other one I'm going to play here? I think Shaving Mirror, I think I'm going to play. So we'll see. But thank you, Kevin, for letting us do this. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate it. Hey, Gene, Kelly, and we appreciate you guys stopping by. We do this twice a week these days, 4 p.m., Sundays and Wednesdays. Stop by and say hi. And we'll be back on Wednesday. This is the Jimmy Doan Show. I am Counselor Curtis, and we'll see you soon.